Once upon a time, there lived 3 brothers. The oldest was Ophthalmus, the middle brother was Maxiliamus, and the youngest was Mandibulus. They were all known for their nerves of steel across the land. They all ventured on many adventures. Nevertheless, the greatest adventurer of them all was Maxiliamus. Following in the footsteps of his older brother, he also left his comfortable home in the middle of the cranial fossa. However, he took a different tunnel, the foramen rotundum, which led him to the land of the Pterygopalatine Fossa. It was a scary realm. Everywhere you looked, the walls seemed to be closing in. The land was in fact a triangular space. As soon as Max emerged from the foramen rotundum, he had the feeling he was being watched. He could not see any openings above him, but he could still feel the presence of something there. It was a very scary realm. As it turns out, Apex, the god of the orbit, guided his journey from above the Pterygopalatine Fossaland. He was the one that helped Maxiliamus avoid the peril of the Pterygopalatine gang lion. The trick of surviving the gang lion was to just pass on through and not overstay your welcome. Thankfully, Max did not overstay his welcome. However, other perils still waited ahead. Apex warned him not to travel laterally, whatever he did. His exact words were, "A lateral turn will lead you to the inferno that is the infratemporal fossa." Max knew all about the infratemporal fossa from his younger brother, Mandibulus, who had thoroughly explored it. Mandibulus spoke of a great red river, the Maxillary River, that coursed through the inferno and continued into the land of the Pterygopalatine Fossa. Apex told Max that the Pterygomaxillary fissure was named for that river that flowed through it. When Max decided to go home, he turned around, hoping to go back through the foramen rotundum. To his surprise, a giant butterfly stood in his way. The butterfly, known as a sphenoid for its speed, was angry at the insolence of Max for trying to go back and started to chase him. Max ran to the pterygoid canal, hoping that he will find his way home. After all, the pterygoid canal was on the same side of the Pterygopalatine Fossaland as his route home. Sadly, fortune was not with Max, because he ran into the foramen lucerum, which was a dead end. He escaped, but just barely. A part of his nerves of steel remained in the pterygoid canal, the nerve of the pterygoid canal. Just as he made it back to the Pterygopalatine Fossaland, the butterfly caught up with him and swallowed him. Max traveled through the pharynx of the butterfly. He called it the pharyngeal canal. To his surprise, he landed in another, bigger pharynx. The pharynx was full of sounds, very pleasant sounds. However, Max had overcome the pleasant voices of sirens in his previous adventures, and he knew right away that he had to leave the pharynx and not grow attached to the sounds. Max succeeded and left the pharynx, but the sirens grabbed a part of him and would not let go. Max was forced to leave a part of his nerves of steel with the sirens of the pharynx. Even today, the part of Max known as the pharyngeal nerve connects the Pterygopalatine Fossaland with the pharynx through the sphenoid butterfly's mouth, the pharyngeal canal. Thus far in his adventures, Max was chased out of the posterior of the land by the sphenoid, avoided the inferno laterally, and spoke to Apex, the god above. Max just wanted to go home, but his route would not prove to be easy. Thankfully, Apex provided another helpful piece of guidance. Do not be tempted by the airy meadows of the medial side. The sphenoid butterfly guards the sphenopalatine foramen that leads there. Also, even if you do pass, you will get stuck in the mucus swamp known as the nasal cavity, said Apex. Focus on the horizon. Once you arrive, you will be able to see right through to your exit. That sounds like a riddle, stated Max as he wandered anteriorly towards the horizon. Maxiliamus was just starting to enjoy his journey when he reached a great big hole. This is just what I needed, he thought. Looking down, he glanced into another land, the land of teeth people. They looked like they were great pals. Max passed the greater Palatine Canal into the land of the palate and continued towards the horizon. After many days traveling towards the horizon, he decided to call the land the Maxilla, after himself, of course, eventually reached what Apex had told him, the exit. Oh, and the view he saw was glorious. He saw something white and spherical that was constantly rotating. The eye of the orbit was mesmerizing. All he had to do was cross the transforming fissure of the inferior orbit, and he would be in the glorious land with the rotating sphere. Maxilliamus did not hesitate. He jumped right into the inferior orbital fissure, traveled in the infraorbital canal, and turned into the infraorbital nerve. There he lived happily ever after. The end.